It's off-season time. First off though, congratulations to the Lakers on winning the championship. You did a great job during this bubble and this entire season. You were the 1 seed and you got it done when everyone doubted you. I picked you though, after I picked the Rockets, but still, I picked you. And you got it done, and the reason why the Lakers were able to get it done is because of their incredible offseason that they just had. They literally didn't even make the playoffs, and they went from that to winning the championship. Yes, trading for Anthony Davis was definitely the main reason why they won the championship this year, but their free agency moves were definitely a big help as well, and if they didn't do what they did to get Rondo back and sign more people like Markieff Morris and Danny Green, they probably would not have won the championship, but yet they did. So today, I want to talk about 8 people that I think are going to have a huge impact on next season's playoff picture and talk about some free agents that are going to make an impact. So right off the bat, I'm going to talk about DeMar DeRozan, because he does have a player option right now, but he's most likely not going to be on the Spurs next season. I don't see that happening. If anything, he might accept it and get traded on like some sort of sign and trade, obviously. But if that happens, that would be great for him and great for the Spurs, because the Spurs definitely, in my opinion, need to go in some sort of rebuild. They've just made the playoffs for like 20 straight years, so they could afford to lose some years and get some good players. So if they do end up doing that and moving on from him, I would love to see DeMar DeRozan go to the Atlanta Hawks, because the Hawks definitely would love to have someone like DeRozan to help that scoring load, of course. They didn't make the playoffs last year, they weren't particularly close either, but adding DeRozan to Trae Young and John Collins and Clint Capella, along with Kevin Huerter, DeAndre Hunter, and that entire group, I think would definitely end up making the playoffs next year, and could even be like a top 4 team in the East and move on going forward, getting better and better. DeRozan would definitely add someone that's had a lot of experience in the playoffs. He's led those Raptors teams, and he even brought the Spurs to the playoffs just the year before this year, and he's a great fit. He averaged 22 points, 5.5 assists on literally the best field goal percentage of his career just last year. So he's a great player still. He hasn't lost a beat, and if he's on this team with all of this young talent, I think that would be a great fit. So that's a team that I want him to go to. Outside of them, I could definitely see him going to a team like the Hornets, because he would fit in really nicely with that young core as well, and potentially even lead them to a playoff berth. The East is going to be tough, and I don't think the Hornets have as good of a group as the Hawks do, but even DeRozan by himself in the Eastern Conference would potentially make a pretty big impact on even the Knicks. So he's someone that I definitely think is going to move teams. And moving on now, the next player that I want to talk about is Isaiah Thomas, who you might not think about at first when you're thinking about impactful free agents, but he's literally someone that did average 29 points, and yes, he has not had the best season since then, but he's been dealing with a lot of injuries, and he's finally healthy again. So he was still pretty effective for the Wizards just last year, shooting over 40% from 3, and they did release him, and somehow no one picked him up. I don't really understand that, but he was able to get healthy, he had surgery, and now he's feeling better than ever. So I think Isaiah Thomas could come in, potentially win 6th Man of the Year, and one team I should say that he might end up going to is either the Celtics or the Sixers, because both teams could definitely use someone like him coming off the bench and potentially even starting in the Sixers case. But Isaiah Thomas is someone that could help them out a lot. Both teams have the pieces to kind of hide him on defense. Brad Stevens has a lot of experience with doing that. They have players like Marcus Smart, they have Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, and on the Sixers side of things, they have Joel Embiid, Ben Simmons, Matisse Thybulle, Josh Richardson. They've got great defenders that could kind of hide him, and Isaiah Thomas could carry the scoring load on any given night, averaging potentially anywhere from like 15 to 25 points even. You don't really know what you're going to get from him, but I think he's going to sign a 1-year deal. He's going to make a huge impact on wherever he ends up going, at least scoring-wise, and hopefully if he signs to some place that could actually contend, we could see some Isaiah Thomas in the playoffs as well. That would be fun to watch. We love him. I think I speak for everyone when I say we want to see him succeed. Short Kings unite. Shout out to King of the Fourth Quarter. But yeah, Isaiah Thomas is the next player. And going forward though, the next player I want to talk about is Hassan Whiteside, because he definitely had one of his best years again during his contract year. Is it coincidence? No, it's not. He's definitely playing for money. But if he wants to stop doing that, he could potentially sign to someplace like the Warriors, because honestly, you saw Drummond's trade market, it wasn't that good, and yes, they're pretty different players, but at the same time, not really. They're both great. Whiteside is definitely a better rim protector. Drummond is a better rebounder because he's literally. Why am I talking about Drummond though? I don't know, but whatever. I'm gonna keep with that. I'm gonna keep with Whiteside and say that Whiteside would do great on the Golden State Warriors. That's 1000% where I want to see him to go, because him on that Warriors team would be phenomenal to watch. They definitely want someone else to be their starting center. I mean, Marquise Chris is great, but I would love to see him kind of in their sixth man role and have Whiteside start, and whenever they need him, like Whiteside, he's one of the best rim protectors in the league. He literally averaged like 3 blocks a game. He had 13.5 rebounds, like 15.5 points. He's a great player, and I mean, some people might question his impact on winning, but I think Steve Kerr and the Warriors will figure out the lineups to use, and he's definitely going to be very valuable to them if he ends up signing there, kind of filling that JaVale McGee role, but he's definitely a better player than JaVale McGee, and that Warriors team would be scary with him on it. So if his market isn't going, I think he should definitely sign with the Warriors. But outside of the Warriors, I could see Whiteside potentially going to the Raptors as well, because I mean, they're probably going to lose Marc Gasol, who's not even going to play in the NBA anymore apparently, so they're going to need someone at center, and Whiteside would do great on that team to kind of match with Pascal Siakam and Whiteside. I think that would be a pretty good front court, and if they do want to contend going forward, Whiteside would do great on their team as well. So, we're going to move on and talk about Serge Ibaka, since I just talked about the Raptors. So Serge Ibaka is going to be a free agent, and he would do great. I mean, I'm sure the Raptors do want to re-sign him, but they also have players like Fred VanVleet, who I'm not including on this list because I do think he's going to re-sign with them. But Serge Ibaka, on the other hand, might be the odd man out. And if he's on the open market, there's going to be tons of teams that want him. And the team that I would love to see him go to more than anywhere is the Miami Heat, because Serge Ibaka with Bam Adebayo, that would be great. Serge Ibaka can spread the floor, obviously, for him still, and he's a great rim protector. And yes, Bam Adebayo is one of the best defenders in the league, but he kind of is just a little bit short. 6'9" is very short for a center, and if they have someone like Serge Ibaka to play the 4, then that would just be a phenomenal duo on the defensive side of things and on the offensive side of things. Ibaka, great player, great fit in Miami, and that's where I want to see him go. And some other teams outside of Miami could be potentially the Phoenix Suns, because I mean, that would be a great fit as well if they want to make the playoffs. They were literally undefeated in the bubble. Getting someone like Serge Ibaka to be another veteran leader that has been in the postseason in the past and had great games as well, one of the best rim protectors, like I said, that would be a great place to go. So any team would benefit from having Serge Ibaka. That's just a fact. One of the most underrated players in the league, in my opinion. So, love Serge Ibaka. Has a great cooking show. You should watch it. And yeah, that's it for him. Next, I want to talk about Danilo Gallinari. Danilo Gallinari was one of the best players on the Thunder team that just made the playoffs. And yeah, they had Chris Paul, they had Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, but Danilo Gallinari was another huge factor in that. He averaged about 19 points, is one of the best shooters in the league, and would definitely be able to be some sort of second or third scoring option wherever he ends up going. And just recently he came out and said that he wants to compete for a championship. He's no longer in his 20s, he's made a lot of money, and now he's ready for a title. So with that in mind, I think the Lakers would be a great place for him to go, because they definitely do want some sort of third scoring option with LeBron James and Anthony Davis, and he would do great things with them. He could sign on the mid-level exception, and that would be fine for him apparently, and if that's the case, he would do great. Outside of the Lakers, he might be going to the Clippers potentially. I don't know if he wants to return, but I think they could definitely use him back if he's willing, so that's another team for him. And now I'm going to talk about Montrezl Harrell of the Clippers, because he is also going to be an unrestricted free agent and looking for some sort of money. And I don't know if the Clippers are going to be able to bring him back. I know there was mutual interest, but on top of that, I don't know if that's still the case anymore with their disappointing run in the playoffs, and they might look to potentially just move on from him or potentially do a sign and trade or something. But Montrezl Harrell is another huge impactful player. He literally just won 6th Man of the Year. great on the inside, a great energy guy. He feeds off the crowd, and he definitely did struggle a little bit during the bubble, but that's just going to be what it is. He's still a great player, and any team would love to have him. My favorite team for him to go to is the Dallas Mavericks, because I would love to see him with Luka Doncic and whatever other playmaker they have, Jalen Brunson. I think they could use someone like Montrezl Harrell to help them out a bunch, and he is great. Outside of the Mavericks, though, I could see him going to the Bulls. The Bulls could definitely use someone like him to help them out a bunch to potentially make the playoffs, because it's been a little bit for them, so they want to do that. Montrezl Harrell will be a great fit. Next, I'm going to talk about Jeremy Grant, because I love me some Jeremy Grant, one of my favorite role players in the NBA, and don't even want to consider him a role player though, because he's definitely more impactful than that. Because yeah, he's literally one of the best defenders, not that high I guess, but still great defender. He was guarding Kawhi Leonard, LeBron James, and doing a pretty good job at it. And on top of that, he's able to bring good shooting as well. He's a great shooter, and he was able to score like 20 plus points on any given night. Great guy to have. Any team would love to have a 3-and-D wing like he is. And I mean, yes, the Nuggets probably do want to bring him back, but he's going to get a lot of interest from a lot of different teams, and the Nuggets do have a lot of decisions to make this offseason with him and Paul Millsap as well. And Millsap was someone that I considered for this video, but I'm just going to put Jeremy Grant here, because I definitely do think that Grant going forward is going to have a bigger impact than Millsap. No offense, he did great, but yeah, Millsap is good, but Jeremy Grant is the player that I'm talking about, and I would love to see Jeremy Grant head to a place like the Phoenix Suns, because the Phoenix Suns are looking for that same impactful defender that could help them potentially make the playoffs. They literally were just undefeated in the bubble, but outside of the Suns, I could see Jeremy Grant going to the Atlanta Hawks. Just any team that wants a player like him, which is basically every team in the NBA. Jeremy Grant is going to make a huge impact wherever he ends up. And the last player I'm going to be talking about is DeMarcus Cousins, because literally he was the best center when he got injured first off in the New Orleans days I'm talking about. He was considered the best center by almost everyone at that point. And yes, he's had a lot of injuries since then, but I think finally we're going to hopefully, fingers crossed, get a good season out of him, or at least a healthy season out of him. I think he's going to come back and do pretty good. He was doing good with the Warriors, even though they had so many different players, obviously, on that team. He still was able to average like 16 points for them, and I think he hasn't been slacking at all. He was with the Lakers all of last season before he left, obviously. But yeah, he's a great player, and I think he's probably going to end up back in LA with the Lakers, with just, I think everyone would love to see him with Anthony Davis back again, and Rondo if he ends up re-signing with them, which I think he's going to. And LeBron James, that would be a great group to see. But yeah, wherever DeMarcus Cousins end up going, which potentially could be a place like Houston, because they should get someone that can protect the rim a little bit more, and Cousins was never really known for his defense, but he would do a better job than PJ Tucker, at least potentially. Well, I mean, that might not even be true, but still, having him with PJ Tucker, that would be a lot better than just having PJ Tucker and Robert Covington, because you could just slide everyone down one position and put DeMarcus Cousins in at center, and that would do great for the Rockets. But I do think he's going to end up signing with the Lakers. Another team could be the Celtics, because the Celtics definitely do want another center, and Cousins would do great for them, and I'm sure he wants to compete for a championship. Well, that's going to be all for me. Thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. Let me know with a like if you enjoyed the video. Let me know with a comment down below what you thought about all of these players that I talked about and the fits that I gave. I enjoyed them. I enjoyed making this video, and it would be great if you could support the channel and even leave a subscribe. That is not how you're supposed to word it, but whatever. Leave a subscribe. See ya. Have a great life.